And the New Deal, yeah, FDR fought World War II, but and it was a giant stimulus program and helped get us out of the Great Depression. But that's beside the point. How does your desire and the Libertarian Party's explicit desire, it's been repeated in their party platforms since well before 1980 when David Koch ran for vice president. Right. How does the banksters in the health insurance industry and the banksters on Wall Street making hundreds of billions of dollars in profit off our retirement savings, off the needs of disabled and poor people, and off the health needs of elderly people, how does that help average working people? I get how it helps the billionaires.
Well, let me just answer. So you said that World War II was the great stimulus program.
No, we're not changing the subject. We're talking about Medicare and Medicaid, the New Deal here.
Okay, well, you did say that war causes stimulus, so essentially World War III might be a good thing for the economy if that's what you're arguing.
That's not what I'm arguing.
Why not go ahead and initiate a greater scale war in order for us to stimulate the economy?
Austin,
people out of poverty.
Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid.
Right, okay. So I don't believe in those programs, but if we would stop wasteful spending in other areas that government, you and I can agree on, progressives and libertarians could agree on, then we could save money, we could patch the budget, right? So
Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Yeah. David Koch ran on a platform suggesting that these things were destructive of the American spirit. This is basic libertarian philosophy. I don't get it why you're not proud of your own damn philosophy.
I am. I guess my question is, would you prefer a universal basic income? If we would get rid of all of these Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, would you prefer?
We're not discussing a universal basic income. The question is, if Paul Ryan is successful in cutting in half or even successfully destroying, because ultimately that's the long-term plan, as Newt Gingrich laid out last weekend at the Heritage Foundation, end Social Security, end Medicare, end Medicaid. If that's the plan, and this is, of course, consistent with your position, what you ran for president on,
sure,
then how does that help the average person who's on Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security?
I think that most people are going to think that they're going to abolish it overnight, so we have to phase these programs out. Of course, if you invested in the NASDAQ versus Social Security, you would receive 3 times the return. The stock market outperforms Social Security every single time, even with the crashes, even with the bubbles, even with the stock market implosions that we've had, the worst stock market implosions that we've had, if you had just kept your money invested in the market, you would have performed better. So I don't think that we need to be ripping the rug out.
So how does that help the 1/3, speaking of thirds, 3 times better or 1/3 better, the 1/3 of all Social Security payments are not for people who are retired. They're for people who are disabled.
Right. Well,
what are you going to do about that?
Solvent, right? We want to make the program solvent in the short term.
No, you want to destroy the program. I mean, that's part of the platform of your party. Unless you're here to declare that your Libertarian Party is full of.
I can't do that. The power of the president, they don't have that authority. Now, the Republicans might control Congress, but there are a lot of wishy-washy Republicans and Republicans.
Austin, you're arguing for it. We're not talking about if it's going to happen or not. I'm just trying to understand how could this be better for somebody who is like my cousin, for example. She gave birth to a child who had spina bifida. This child lived until she was 20 years old. She never achieved even the ability to speak. She was in diapers until the day she died. My cousin had to go on Social Security. She couldn't work. Her husband couldn't work. They were full-time caregivers for this kid. How does your program help them?
Well, the first thing we do is we stop stealing from them in the form of taxation. As every good libertarian knows, taxation is theft.
Well, they weren't paying taxes. They were on Social Security.